when Nintendo was making the game Link's Awakening for the Game Boy, producer Shigeru Miyamoto had a nightmare. He said in an interview, "I dreamt I found a huge bug, one that stopped you from progressing in the game." But that was just a dream. When Zelda Link's Awakening came out that June, the launch went great. No game-breaking bugs to speak of. But 18 years later, Miyamoto's nightmare would finally come to life, when only weeks after Skyward Sword was released on the Nintendo Wii, a game-breaking bug was discovered in the game. Players around the world were getting completely stuck right before the end of the game. And if they didn't have another save file to fall back upon, those players would have to start Skyward Sword again from the very beginning. All of their progress was completely lost. If you were a Zelda fan in 2011, you probably know a little about this already, but I hope to fill in some of the details of what exactly went wrong here. And if all of this is new to you, then strap in for a wild ride. Because let me tell you about the worst glitch in Nintendo history. Part 1. The glitch. So, our story starts in November 2011, which is when Skyward Sword made its debut on the Wii. The launch seemed to be going great at first, with the game selling almost 200,000 copies in Japan alone in the first 4 days of release. That's pretty impressive. But all that time, in a quest near the end of Skyward Sword's main story, there lay a problem. The quest in question is called The Song of the Hero. In this quest, Link must once again visit the game's 3 areas, Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru, in order to meet with 3 dragons who live in those places. Each area has a quest you have to solve before moving on to the other 2 areas. Now, the game will try and suggest you visit those 3 locations in a specific order: Faron, then Eldin, then Lanayru. But you don't have to follow that suggestion. You can actually tackle the 3 areas and their respective quests in whichever order you like. In a game that doesn't usually offer you a whole lot of choice about what to do and when, this is a surprising bit of freedom. Unfortunately, that freedom caused some problems. So, if you visit Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru in the order the game suggests, you'll be totally fine. But if you tackle Lanayru first or second instead, then you can easily end up with the game becoming soft-locked. When you enter Lanayru and talk to this Goron here called Golo, the game raises a flag in the code to say, "The player is doing the Lanayru quest, so don't trigger the other quests." If you then complete this region's quest and talk to the Lanayru dragon, that flag will be removed. You can then safely head to Faron, which is flooded underwater, or Eldin, whose volcano has erupted, and complete the final 2 parts of The Song of the Hero. But when you're leaving the Lanayru region after talking to the dragon and completing the quest, you actually have the opportunity to talk to Golo the Goron a second time. And that's a pretty normal thing to do, to let him know you're leaving. But doing that will actually re-trigger the flag that says you're in the middle of the Lanayru region's quest. And there's no way to remove that flag. You've already finished the quest and talked to the dragon, so you don't have any way to redo the quest or get rid of the flag. And so, because the game still thinks you're in the middle of Lanayru region's quest, it won't let you begin either of the other 2 quests. If you visit Faron, it won't have flooded yet, and if you go to Eldin, the volcano won't erupt. All of this means that you're totally stuck. You've done the Lanayru quest, but because of silly old Goron Golo, the game won't trigger either of the remaining quests, and you can't progress. You can run freely around the world of Skyward Sword, you can visit all 3 regions, but you have no way to make any progress in the game. If you have an earlier save file, you'll have to revert back to that one. But if you're unlucky enough to just have one single save file, well, you're screwed. You've got to start the game over from the very beginning. And This Song of the Hero section occurs right near the end of Skyward Sword, so starting over is a big deal. And as the days and then weeks went by after Skyward Sword's release, more and more players began encountering this glitch. Nintendo had to do something, so here's what they did. Part 2. What Nintendo did. I asked Kit Ellis, who was Skyward Sword's North American PR lead, about what it was like inside Nintendo when this bug was discovered. You'll likely recognize Kit as one half of Kit and Krista. He told me, "At Nintendo of America, we were really surprised to hear about the game-breaking bug in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. This was one of our biggest new releases for the year, and there was also a lot of pride in our quality assurance teams and processes, so issues like these were rare." It wasn't long after this glitch started being noticed by players, and those players started contacting Nintendo, that the company kicked into action. Game testers worked to quickly isolate what actions exactly were causing this glitch. Developers in Japan worked to fix the code itself that was causing things to go wrong, and Nintendo's PR and customer service teams prepared to brief customers about what the heck was happening. Nintendo of America soon prepared the following statement, which would be sent to any customers who emailed the company. In it, those customers were told how the glitch would occur, tips for how to avoid it. But notably, there wasn't any kind of actual solution yet. If the game has been saved after completing the sequence of events, it will no longer be possible to proceed through the game on that save file. The only options at that point are to either start the game over or to use an earlier save file to continue. I wish I had a better answer, but I'm afraid there currently is no other fix available. I can assure, however, that we are documenting all feedback we receive on this issue. Which is great, I'm glad you're documenting all that feedback, but what about my broken save file? Needless to say, behind the scenes, Nintendo's developers were working on how to fix the issue itself. Number 1, how to stop this glitch from happening in new copies of the game, and number 2, how to get people who were stuck unstuck. And that was absolutely the harder of the two tasks. The Wii lacked any way of patching games after they were released, so the Zelda team had to come up with another solution for rescuing stranded players. And that solution came 1 week later. If Wii games couldn't be patched, then how about Nintendo come up with a way of patching them? Enter the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword Save Data Update Channel, also known in Japan as the Zelda Data Restoration Channel. That's right, Nintendo launched a brand new Wii channel. You could download it from the Wii Shop channel. It cost 0 points, which is yeah, obviously. So Zelda fans could download this Zelda update channel and it would fix their save data, essentially removing that flag which stopped the game from loading in the Farron and Eldin quests. That was the one and only purpose of this entire Wii channel. It's an unprecedented solution to a problem like this. But for users who couldn't install the channel, Nintendo UK had an alternate solution. Those who do not have access to the internet will need to send their copies of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, their SD card with Skyward Sword save data on it, or their entire Nintendo Wii system to our customer service. That's right, customers could send their entire Wii console over to Nintendo, where the patch would be applied, and the console would be sent back to the customer in question in the mail. That might sound like a pretty big step to take, but Skyward Sword was one of Nintendo's most important games of the year. Again, in the words of Kit Ellis, while there was initially a high degree of concern over the bug, we began to feel better once we learned it was something that would impact a smaller number of players who followed a specific sequence of events. Any number of impacted players would be unfortunate, but understanding the scope, we felt better that we could work with these players even before the Wii Save Update channel was released. Remember, this was before you could easily patch games on consoles. There was widespread coverage of the bug, but much of this included our own guidance on how to avoid it. And in the end, it was not the PR disaster we were concerned it could become. But what's surprising is that this isn't the first time this has happened in a Zelda game. No, just 5 years earlier, almost the exact same story of Zelda glitches and soft locks played out once before. That's right, it's time to jump back in time. Part 3. 5 years ago. Imagine the moment you find out your big new Zelda game has a game-breaking bug in it, after the game's already out on store shelves. What an awful feeling, right? Now imagine how the Zelda developers felt when it happened to them twice. Twilight Princess was released in 2006 on 2 consoles simultaneously, Nintendo's old GameCube system and their brand new Nintendo Wii. Originally, the game was intended for GameCube alone, but as the launch of the Wii grew closer, the dev team suddenly had to get the game running on 2 different game systems, which is no small task. And perhaps that explains why the game features not 1, but 2 major game-breaking bugs. First is the cannon room glitch. If you save your game in a certain room of the game, this one featuring the broken sky cannon, and then quit, when you next load your save file, you won't be able to leave the room. You'll be trapped in there, and the only solution is to start the game over. The other glitch is similar. Earlier in the game, part of the iconic Bridge of Eldin is destroyed, sucked away into a Twilight portal. If you save and quit right after that happens, when you next load your save file, you'll be stuck on the wrong side of the bridge. You're totally stranded, and the only option you have is, again, to start the game anew. Now, both of those glitches are fairly specific, more so than the Skyward Sword glitch, which is so very easy to accidentally trigger. But still, if saving and quitting in the wrong area completely stops you from making any more progress through the game, that is a huge problem. According to one internet user who phoned Nintendo of America, Twilight Princess players who encountered one of these game-breaking glitches could send their physical game disc to Nintendo's offices in Redmond, Washington, and Nintendo would send back a new, fixed game disc. And because the game's save data is stored on the Wii hard drive, not the disc itself, players should be able to pick up right where they left off. And of course, Nintendo soon patched this bug entirely, so it's only early launch discs that have these 2 major glitches. Still, it's not great. The fact that 2 3D Zelda games in a row shipped with massive game-breaking bugs might give the impression that Nintendo's bug testing isn't very thorough, or even that Zelda's developers are incompetent. But neither of those is true. The Zelda devs were just extraordinarily unlucky that twice, or 3 times, if you count both of Twilight Princess's issues, major bugs slipped through the cracks of the otherwise thorough bug testing process. It's hard to believe how much things have changed in the last 15-20 years though, because nowadays, Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword's glitches would be much less of a disaster. Nintendo's developers could easily issue patches to instantly get rid of the issues without players having to press a single button. Plus, with social media, warning players not to do X, Y, or Z to avoid triggering a bug is quite a bit easier. With Skyward Sword, the company did what they could, but there just wasn't an easy way to spread information to millions of Zelda fans. Of course, every game has bugs and glitches of some kind, but neither of the major 3D Zelda releases since Skyward Sword have had anything quite as game-breaking as the issue that game had. As Kit Ellis said, Nintendo has a lot of pride in its QA teams, and for good reason, but video games are very big, and finding and rooting out bugs isn't a simple task. And sometimes, things do slip through the cracks. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And also a huge thank you to Kit Ellis of Kit and Krista fame for helping out with this video by answering a few questions via email. If you enjoy my videos, then you'll almost certainly enjoy Kit and Krista's weekly podcast. They talk about their experiences working at Nintendo, gaming news. Yeah, it's really interesting. Plus, if you enjoy my videos and want to help support the channel, then a great way to do that is via Patreon. Patrons get perks like access to my Patreon-only Discord server, bonus monthly videos, behind-the-scenes update posts. So if any of that sounds interesting, then definitely go check it out at patreon.com/thomasgamedocs. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye! An extra special thanks to my $10 patrons: Alison Withernall, Floaty Oats, Fallen AJ, Candy Crystal, Kelly Wright, Michael JHD, Michael Gunter, Daryl Jero, Lucas Little, Cyprian Eov, Joseph Maltby, Jim Gilsonen, Ellie Birnbaum, and Evan Kinney.